My best friend Anna just got married. I was both the bridesmaid and the groom's ex-girlfriend. When the groom, Jared, walked in with his groomsmen and relatives, I could clearly hear the whispers ripple through the crowd. Look, that's Linda duh. I heard she made a huge fuss chasing after the groom, Jared, like a simp for a whole 2 years. No way. And she still showed up to be a bridesmaid today? Girl's got some thick skin. Seriously. But to be fair, Jared is a total catch. Tons of women have their eyes on him. Linda didn't even stand a chance. He never gave her the time of day. I mean, if I were him, I'd choose Anna too. She was always the popular girl growing up, pretty, rich, the whole package. Exactly. Linda's an orphan with no parents, plain as toast. Even if she's smart, what good is that? She was always just sidekick material for Anna. Amid the constant praise and compliments, Anna, looking flawless in her makeup, lifted her chin like a proud swan. Her eyes gleamed with satisfaction, though she forced a concerned look as she turned to me. Linda, she said softly. I lowered my gaze calmly and bent down to fix the complicated hem of her wedding dress. Then I helped her into the wedding car, smiling as I said, "It's all right, Anna. I don't mind." She blinked, caught off guard. Her voice, once full of concern, turned cold in an instant. "Good," she replied. I knew she wasn't done. If she couldn't get the reaction she wanted from me, she wouldn't let it go. We'd known each other for years. She always had to find a way to step on me to feel superior, highlighting her own brilliance by pushing me down. Jared was just another trophy she stole from me after carefully plotting every move. If she couldn't crush my dignity completely, how else could she enjoy the thrill of winning? Sure enough, after the ceremony, she shared a tender kiss with Jared, then handed me the bouquet with a meaningful smile. Every inch of her face screamed superiority. Today is the most perfect, most important day of my life, she said, her voice emotional. I want to thank my best friend Linda for bringing Jared into my life. Fate always favors the right people. Everything happens for a reason. I hope Linda can find her own happiness soon, just like I did. She looked like she might cry as she finished, and I saw a glimmer of a tear in her eyes. The crowd burst into another round of praise, beautiful and kind. Jared's expression was distant as he glanced at me, like I was a complete stranger. But I remember how he used to look at me in a quiet room, his breath tangled with mine, the way his cool fingers brushed teasingly along the small of my back. We were like 3 actors in a play, each hiding our own secrets. No one, not even Anna, knew that Jared and I had dated for 6 months. Because he didn't want anyone to know. As the crowd watched with amused curiosity, I gently rubbed a tiny button hidden in my pocket and smiled sweetly. "Wishing you both a lifetime of love," I said. The next moment, the big screen showing their romantic wedding photos suddenly flickered and went black. Then it switched to a video shot in a luxury hotel suite. The whole room gasped. The sharply dressed, good-looking wedding MC paled. This audio is originally produced by the YouTube channel, Shortstory. Please credit when sharing. On screen, crimson sheets twisted, the room thick with desire. Moans and heavy breathing filled the air. During a break in the action, a woman's sultry laugh rang out. "Not bad. Why didn't you invite your little apprentice to join?" A low, teasing male voice replied. "He's new, still shy. But wow, one night with the photographer and now me? You've got the groom tomorrow. Isn't that enough for you?" The video was grainy, faces weren't visible. But that magnetic, familiar voice? It was unmistakably the MC who had just been energizing the room moments ago. And hanging by the bed, was the same custom crystal-studded wedding gown Anna was wearing that day. The moans and breathless gasps echoed through the silent ballroom. Anna stood frozen, barely able to stay on her feet. Her lips formed a stunned "oh," and a single tear clung to her long lashes, ridiculous and pitiful all at once. Jared stared at the screen, unmoving. His veins bulged as he clenched his fists, his whole body stiff and dark as stone. Someone in the crowd let out a low whistle. "Damn, that's wild," they whispered. The MC finally sprang into action, scrambling to the stage and cutting off the power to the screen. The soft wedding music started up again. And in the next instant, the entire hall erupted like oil thrown into boiling water, exploding with noise and chaos. The waves of sound crashed over the three people on stage, drowning them in scandal. Meanwhile, I lowered my head, gently sniffed the fresh, vibrant bouquet in my hands, and smiled. Anna and I were classmates in high school. She had everything: looks, money, a smooth ride through life. I was just the quiet orphan from the group home. Introverted, distant, unlikable. The only thing I had going for me was my grades. I became the target of relentless bullying. Because the bullies knew, I had no family, no backup. Teachers turned a blind eye. Bullying me came with zero consequences. After all, who wants to make trouble? On one side was the poor, lonely girl who always stayed quiet. On the other were 7 or 8 kids with influential parents. The teachers just chose the path of least resistance. They put glue in my water bottle. Gave me degrading nicknames. Made fun of my faded white jacket and worn-out canvas shoes. They poured red ink on my chair, wrote fake love letters in my name and posted them all over school. They even slapped me across the face in the bathroom. One day, I was locked inside a dark equipment storage room. Anna walked by with her little group and opened the door. Her makeup was flawless, her hair shining in the sunlight, her gaze full of superiority. I was curled up in the shadows, drenched and shivering. My hair had been chopped into a mess. The back of my uniform was covered in slurs. Her brand new designer sneakers stepped into view. She looked down at me like I was a stray dog and tapped the top of my head. So pitiful, huh, Linda? Good grades mean nothing without a background. Humph. I'm feeling generous today. Wanna be my pet? I looked up at her in a daze, stunned by the sparkle in her eyes. She raised a brow and smiled mockingly. And me? I wiped a drop of water from the tip of my hair, dug my nails into my palm, and still, under her victorious smile, I nodded silently. From that day on, I was no longer top student Linda. I was just Anna's obedient little sidekick. Anna shielded me from all the people who bullied me. In exchange, I became her obedient little pet, someone completely mediocre, whose only value was making her shine even brighter by contrast. I handled all the love letters from her admirers, acted as her emotional punching bag when she was in a bad mood, crossed half the city in the rain just to get her favorite desserts, skipped class and waited overnight in line for her favorite celebrity's autograph, and even dressed up in a maid outfit at her birthday party just to be mocked for laughs. My grades plummeted. Anna once slapped my cheek lightly and said, "You're just a lackey. How could your grades be better than your master's? And besides, no matter how well you do, has any teacher ever really looked at you?" I looked down at the latest phone by her hand and, like always, did what she said. But by the time we graduated high school, I'd done fairly well. I got accepted into a decent university in the province, supported myself with part-time jobs and financial aid. That's where I met Jared. He was the student council president, handsome, calm, always top of the class, and every year's scholarship winner. His eyes sparkled when he smiled. I watched him from afar, completely captivated. I thought, maybe I'd found the right person. After that, I threw myself into chasing him, doing everything I could to be wherever he might be. When he had a cold, I brought him medicine. When he had a fever, I delivered a thermometer. When he played basketball, I waited on the sidelines with towels and bottled water. For his birthday, I knitted him a scarf and gave him a handwritten card. But Jared always kept a polite distance from me. Sometimes, there was even a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. Classmates and roommates looked at me like I was a joke. Behind my back, they called me Jared's simp, love-crazed, shameless, and even placed bets on how long I'd chase him before I gave up. No one believed someone like Jared would ever fall for a plain, broke girl like me. I acted like I didn't know, and still tried to get close to him, finding excuses to text him, trying to make him laugh, even if his replies were always just a few words. But just one good night from him kept me happy for 2 whole months. The night before my 19th birthday, Jared finally said he'd go with me to an art exhibition by a well-known painter. I spent the whole night getting ready, despite my roommate's snickers. I worried about the weather, traffic, everything. I was excited and anxious, I barely slept. But the next day, in the freezing wind, I stood there like a fool, waiting 5 hours without daring to message him, afraid I'd annoy him. I waited until the exhibit ended. Only then did he send a cold message. "Something came up. Forgot to tell you." Later, I found out, he'd made a bet with his friends to see how long I'd wait for him in the cold. And just like that, I followed him for 2 whole years. On the night he graduated, he and his friends got drunk at a bar. I sat in the private room, taking care of him the whole night, ignoring his roommate's strange looks, and eventually dozed off by the sofa. At dawn, when I woke up, he was resting against the sofa, lazily propping up his chin with his hand, looking at me with sleepy eyes. "Linda," he asked, "why haven't you given up after chasing me for so long?" I didn't answer, just stared quietly at his clean, delicate features, eyes full of familiar longing and love. Then he leaned in close. I saw my reflection in his dark eyes as he smiled faintly. "Linda, why don't we give it a try?" I froze, my fingers brushing against the bracelet on my wrist. And then, I nodded. Anna and Jared's grand wedding ended in an awkward mess under countless strange stares. Before the ceremony even finished, a scandalous video had already gone viral on social media. Anna was somewhat of a local socialite, wealthy, beautiful, and well-connected. The MC was also well known in the industry for his background in broadcasting, his charming looks, and his full-package wedding services. With both their reputations in the spotlight, gossip posts quickly shot to the top of the trending lists. Thankfully, the video didn't show any clear faces. They still tried to play it off as just a minor accident and carried on with the toasts and formalities. Meanwhile, I sipped my orange juice, half distracted, my fingers quickly scrolling through an anonymous forum post. It was a confession from someone in the wedding business. The post claimed that it's actually pretty common for brides and grooms to indulge the night before their weddings. In 10 years of working in the industry and having served over 800 couples, the poster said they'd seen this happen at least 20 times. They'd witnessed brides hooking up with handsome MCs or videographers under the excuse of finalizing wedding details, and grooms caught in bed with their bridesmaids at the groom's house, sometimes even paying hush money the next day. Some people had the moral backbone to resist temptation. But this particular MC? He was infamous for believing only a fool says no to free perks. He'd even been known to make moves on beautiful brides himself, and record videos in secret as trophies to savor later. Clearly, this time, the two simply hit it off, and boldly brought their little affair to the wedding stage. As whispers filled the room, the faces of both families darkened with shame. That video, that was the bride and the MC, wasn't it? Isn't it obvious? You really believe that excuse about accidentally playing a random adult video online? Even if you can't see their faces clearly, that wedding dress, those voices, come on. Damn. I thought Anna looked so classy and devoted. Who knew she was into this kind of stuff? She had plenty of admirers. I heard she was even harassed by a teacher back in middle school. It was a big deal. Now that you mention it, I remember someone saying Anna had several boyfriends in high school. She probably dated around in college too. Poor groom. The wedding isn't even over yet. Anna and Jared still forced smiles on their faces. Meanwhile, I gave the expose post a like, closed the page calmly, picked up my glass, and smiled at them as I raised a toast. Anna, Jared, wishing you both a happy marriage and a lifetime of love. Anna avoided my gaze and took a sip of her drink, clearly flustered. She started coughing violently, almost choking. Jared didn't even spare her a glance. Instead, he looked at me with a gaze full of meaning, his fingers subtly moving by his side like he wanted to say something but held back. I knew that gesture well. It was the secret signal we used when we were secretly dating. It meant, I need to talk to you later. Jared and I had been in a secret relationship for 6 months. Even though we'd shared countless intimate moments, he never once tried to make our relationship public. To everyone else, I was still that pathetic girl who shamelessly chased after him, Linda, the girl with no self-respect. And Jared remained the unattainable man everyone admired. It was only when no one was around that he would hold my hand, call me baby over and over again, and kiss me passionately and tenderly in the dark. I lowered my eyes and let out a quiet, bitter laugh. So now, he's finally done pretending he doesn't know me? But, ever since he chose Anna and betrayed me without hesitation, I've had nothing left to say to him. I turned my head away from his gaze and acted like I didn't notice anything. After the wedding banquet ended, I walked out of the hotel without looking back. In the taxi, I transferred 5,000 yuan to the young assistant of the wedding host, then immediately deleted and blocked him. I sat quietly, watching the city lights blur past the window. Less than 2 minutes later, Jared's name lit up on my screen. I calmly declined the call and, with a faint smile tugging at the corners of my lips, imagined the scene of the happy couple beginning their new life together. My dear friend, Anna. I truly hope you enjoy the unforgettable wedding night I wished for you. After all, I'd been planning this day long before we ever even met. And the show has only just begun. By the time I hung up on Jared's fourth call, my phone finally fell silent. Back at my little apartment, I ran a warm bath, put on some soothing music, and let myself sink into the water with a long, deep sigh. Just as I was mentally rehearsing the next steps of my plan for the 100th time, Anna called. Her voice was trembling, laced with a pitiful sob. Linda, can I ask you to come over and be with me? I really don't know what to do. I feigned surprise. Anna, what's going on? She paused for a moment before replying. No matter how I try to explain, Jared just won't believe the girl in that video isn't me. You know me, and you know him. Could you, please come explain that I was with you that night, just having a girl's talk before the wedding? My brow lifted slightly. A girl's talk? She added more emphasis, her voice turning casual, as if it were all natural. Yes. I was nervous about the wedding, so I called you to help me calm down, remember? I paused briefly, then comforted her in a gentle tone. Got it. I'll be right over. Half an hour later, I stood at the door of their bridal suite, listening to the angry voices of Jared's parents and Anna's muffled sobs from inside. I pressed the doorbell. Jared answered the door. He was wearing a crisp white shirt, a half-burned cigarette pinched between his fingers. His eyes briefly swept over my still damp hair, something dark flashing in his gaze. You came, he said quietly. I nodded politely and was about to step inside when he suddenly grabbed my wrist. He leaned in close and asked in a low voice, do we really have to act like strangers now? I looked him straight in the eye, my voice cold. Mr. Jared, you're Anna's husband now. Please remember your place, and don't do anything that might be misunderstood. His face darkened, a flicker of frustration and gloom in his eyes. Misunderstood? Linda, you're here. Come in, have a seat. Anna suddenly popped her head out from behind him, her tone overly cheerful, but laced with something venomous. I politely declined, I'm just here to explain. But she grabbed my arm and pulled me inside anyway, handing me a glass with a too bright smile. Thank you for coming all this way. Have something to drink first, and then we'll talk. She turned to Jared's parents and pleaded sweetly, please, just give us a few moments alone. I promise I'll explain everything. With me there as a third party, his parents were forced to keep their dignity. With sullen faces, they left the room, escorted by Jared. Under Anna's insistent hospitality, I drank the beverage she gave me. Just as I was about to speak, I suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. My limbs went limp, and I collapsed onto the couch, barely able to move. I didn't lose consciousness. I just lay there, wide-eyed, as Anna's fake smile disappeared. Her gaze turned cold and twisted. My own voice came out weak and disbelieving. Anna, what did you put in the drink? What are you trying to do? She gently brushed the hair from my face and gave me a warped little smile. It's just something to make you weak. That's all. Linda, I really had no choice. Jared knows the girl in the video is me, he'll never believe your cover story. No matter how much I beg, he won't forgive me. I know you and Jared dated for 6 months, but you're a conservative girl, you never actually slept with him. So I'm offering you a trade. I'll give you our wedding night. That way, we'll be even, and he and I can finally move on with our marriage. You're my best friend. You wouldn't want me to become a laughingstock, getting divorced right after the wedding, right? Besides, you were the one who found that wedding host. If not for him, I wouldn't be in this mess. So it's only fair, you should take responsibility. I stared at her in disbelief. What are you talking about? A second figure stepped into the room. It was Jared. I bit down hard on my tongue as he rolled up his sleeves and silently picked me up, carrying me to the bed where he and Anna were supposed to spend their wedding night. His eyes roamed over my body, heavy with desire, and I felt bile rise in my throat. Anna's voice followed him like a shadow, low and submissive. Jared, we agreed. After tonight, everything from the past will be wiped clean. Like it never happened. Jared's gaze stayed glued to my face. He didn't even spare her a glance. Yeah. Now get out. I saw Anna's face twist with hatred, but in the next second, she forced herself to stay calm and quietly left the room. Jared's fingers hovered near my cheek. Linda. I turned my head away from his touch, glaring at him in disgust. Jared, you were the one sneaking around with Anna behind my back. And now this? What are you trying to do? His expression suddenly shifted into something strange, almost obsessive, and he started laughing softly. Believe it or not, I never really loved Anna. I was just confused. And now, I regret everything. You're listening to Love Short Story, a YouTube channel dedicated to captivating short stories. Let's continue. Jared seemed like he was venting, unloading everything on me. Linda, I really do like you. No one has ever treated me with such genuine devotion. I truly considered marrying you. But being with you, I just can't live the life I want. I was a top student in school, but once I started working, I realized, without connections or a powerful background, I'm completely stuck. I was clearly the hardest working person on the project team, gave it my all, and still, someone parachuted in and took all the credit. And when it came to promotions, I was always just the runner-up. But why? Just because he was born into a wealthy family, while I'm just a regular guy from a working-class home? I was the kid relatives praised growing up, my parents' pride and joy, but these past few years, every time I go home, I can't even hold my head up. You're amazing, but you can't help me with my career. But Anna's different. Her family has money, has influence. She can help me get what I deserve. I stared into his familiar, handsome face and knew once again, Jared was not the man I thought he was. I softened my tone. If that's the case, then why not just live your life with Anna? Why come back and mess with me? A flash of disgust passed through his eyes. You saw it yourself. Anna's nothing but a slut, she's probably slept with at least 15, maybe 30 men. She's not worthy of me. His gaze turned tender as it landed on me again, and he started unbuttoning his shirt. Linda, I can't give you the life you deserve right now. But I promise, I'll divorce Anna sooner or later. You're a self-respecting, good woman. I'll take responsibility for you. I cut him off, my voice cold. So, you want me to be your mistress? He actually nodded without a trace of shame. Linda, I still need to fight for my future. I need her family's help. Just wait for me a little longer. When I make it, I'll tell the whole world, you're the one I truly want to spend my life with. His voice suddenly stopped. The look on his face twisted into one of pure terror. He looked down, hesitating, and there I was, pressing the tip of a stun baton against his waist, gripping it tight, a cold smile playing on my lips. Jared, you don't love me. You just love the feeling of being cared for and adored unconditionally. You chose Anna. You're infatuated with her looks, her family status, her bright and passionate nature, but you can't handle the fact that you're not her one and only. You're just another selfish man who wants it all. But because you can't face how pathetic that makes you, you wrap yourself in fake affection to cover your filthy soul. I leaned in, speaking slowly, clearly, right next to his ear. Jared, you make me sick. His eyes turned bloodshot, his lips trembling like he wanted to say something. But I had already pressed the button. Blue sparks danced in my dark pupils. Thankfully, Anna had already left. His screams didn't alert anyone. He collapsed in pain, and I pinned him down, increasing the voltage. As he let out weak, pitiful moans, I forced a smile through gritted teeth. Jared, a stun baton causes pain, numbness, and possibly temporary paralysis, but it won't kill you. This is just self-defense. He convulsed, then went limp and unconscious, a large wet stain spreading across his pants. Breathing heavily, I used the last of my strength to tie his hands tightly behind his back, gagged him, and deadbolt the door. Now, no one could get in. I let go of the arm I had bitten to stay conscious, slumped onto the edge of the bed, and allowed a small smile to form on my lips. I knew Anna and Jared too well to believe a simple girl talk excuse would cover their tracks. I've never shied away from preparing for the worst. And they didn't disappoint me when it came to hitting rock bottom. Because Anna had cheated before marriage, they apparently agreed to even the score by setting me up on their wedding night. There was no odd taste in the drink. But back in college, Anna had been treated for manic episodes and had access to certain sedatives. Colorless, tasteless, and dissolves easily in water. Most likely, what she gave me was something with hypnotic, calming, anesthetic, or anti-anxiety effects. I uploaded the audio recording from my phone to multiple cloud drives, ran my fingers along the bracelet on my wrist, and closed my eyes, drowsiness washing over me. With Jared's attempted assault and Anna's involvement, I could press charges and send them both to prison for at least 3 years. But that wasn't nearly enough. I'd been playing this game for 10 years. It wasn't time for the final move yet. No rush. I'd already lost everything. The only thing I still had was patience. Early the next morning, I left the bridal suite and saw Anna waiting in the wedding car downstairs. Her eyes landed on my trembling, weak legs. A flicker of jealousy flashed across her face, but she quickly masked it and stepped forward, feigning concern. "Linda." I summoned all my strength and slapped her across the face. Her head whipped to the side. Tears welled up in her eyes almost instantly. "Linda, I'm sorry. What happened last night was wrong. Whatever you want to do to vent, I'll accept it." Seeing the red mark rise quickly on her cheek brought a deep, suppressed satisfaction to the surface. I slapped her again. And again. 7 or 8 times in total. Her expression hardened, and she finally grabbed my wrist. "Enough. This is your version of sincerity, Anna?" I shot her a cold smile, pried open each of her perfectly manicured fingers, and walked away without looking back. Over the next month, Anna bombarded me with voice messages, half apologies, half threats. "Linda, you're my best friend. I know you understand why I had to do what I did, right? I know you still have feelings for Jared. And hey, you got what you wanted that night, didn't you? We're all adults here, don't pretend to be the victim now. That was supposed to be my wedding night. And I had to just sit there while my husband slept with his ex. Do you have any idea how that felt? Don't even think about going to the police. You chased Jared for 2 years. People would rather believe you schemed your way into his bed than hear the truth. Besides, want to guess if I have video footage from that night? If you don't want every creep on the internet drooling over your body, you'll stay quiet. Got it?" Her last message came with a gentle smiling emoji. "Linda, don't force my hand. You really don't want to know what it's like to be mobbed online." Heh. I set down my phone and gave the mirror a smile with no warmth behind it. Just as I expected, Jared hadn't told her what really happened that night. He's the type of man who's both proud and insecure. Between being known as the guy who wet himself and passed out from being tasered, or someone who spent a passionate night with his ex, of course he'd choose the latter to save face. As for Anna, no one knew better than her how to blur the line between lies and truth to manipulate people. She's been doing it for years. Calmly, I typed out a message. "Of course not. You're my best friend. No matter what you do, I'll always forgive you." In the eerie calm, 3 months slipped by in silence. Jared and Anna appeared to be living a peaceful and blissful life. Meanwhile, Jared was at a critical point in his career, vying for a long-awaited promotion. His competitors were strong, and I secretly leaked rumors that the company favored someone else, putting immense pressure on him. Desperate, he worked harder to please Anna and her parents, hoping they would pull strings and offer resources to support his advancement. But I knew, although Anna's family used to be wealthy, they had taken a major financial hit from a failed investment 4 years ago and hadn't recovered since. Jared had been drawn in by the image of Anna as a rich and glamorous woman, not realizing it was all a carefully crafted illusion. The designer bags were bought secondhand online, the luxury car was rented, and the fine dining posts were paid for with credit cards. She'd take dozens of photos from different angles and post them every few days on Instagram, enough to keep up appearances. If Anna hadn't already ruined her reputation in the elite social circles, would a guy like Jared, whose family background was nothing special, have even stood a chance? The truth was, there was very little help they could actually offer him. Still, Jared remained lost in the fantasy that riding on his in-laws' coattails would take him straight to the top. That was the harsh contrast of reality. I took an audio recording from that night, edited it, and sent it to Anna and her parents. "Anna's nothing but a cheap tramp. She's not worthy of me. I need to focus on my career, and I still need help from her parents." I'll divorce Anna sooner or later. She's the kind of woman I wouldn't even touch for fun, she disgusts me. Anna nearly passed out from rage. She and Jared exploded in a massive fight. Both of them were proud and quick to anger, and in the heat of it all, they trashed nearly every piece of furniture in the house. Anna had always been the type to lose control, but Jared, still holding back out of caution, didn't dare fight back too hard. Even so, he ended up with several nasty scratches on his face and had to show up at work pretending nothing was wrong, while enduring his colleagues' awkward stares. Then, I had someone leak news of Jared being abused by his wife to his parents. They stormed over to confront Anna and beat her violently, knocking out one of her teeth. In the chaos, she also lost the baby she was barely starting to show. At the same time, Jared lost the promotion. His rival exposed evidence of bribery and accepting illegal kickbacks, which ruined his reputation in the industry and got him fired. And those pieces of evidence? Only someone very close to him could have had access. To outsiders, it all looked like Anna's revenge. Jared began to hate her with everything he had. Amid the chaos, Anna filed for divorce. But with nothing left to his name, Jared refused to let go. At the very least, staying married to Anna gave him a faint chance of future gain. They had become a laughingstock in their social circle. Jared fought dirty, but Anna was just as ruthless. After another 3 months of vicious entanglement, Anna, with a broken nose and fractured arm, took the case to court and sued for divorce. Jared didn't come out unscathed either. He'd been stabbed in the eye with a broken beer bottle and now had a scar running across his cheek. Once envied as the perfect couple, they were now sworn enemies who wouldn't rest until the other was destroyed. While awaiting the court date, Jared shoved Anna down a tall flight of stairs in a moment of blind rage. She hit her head on a sharp rock and lost consciousness. Panicking, Jared tried to finish her off. But Anna, in unbearable pain, regained consciousness and let out a scream so blood-curdling it echoed through the entire building. Jared was arrested on the spot. Covered in blood and barely alive, Anna was rushed to the hospital. I stood quietly among the onlookers, watching the police car and ambulance disappear into the distance. I gently swiped over the police call log on my phone and smiled faintly. Jared was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder. Anna suffered traumatic brain damage and would spend the rest of her life bedridden. She lost her ability to speak or move, only managing simple sounds, without meaningful communication. Their story made local headlines for weeks. He was branded a gold-digging abuser, she, a reckless, arrogant woman. Sensationalized gossip swirled until the public finally lost interest and moved on. No matter how painful, other people's tragedies are just table talk after dinner. Anna's parents were crushed by public opinion and fell into a long period of depression. At my suggestion, they eventually started pursuing IVF in hopes of having another child. They spent their days running between clinics and hadn't visited Anna in the nursing facility for a long time. She had been abandoned by her own parents. One sunny morning, I went to visit her. The middle-aged nurse caring for her looked surprised and a little anxious, and quickly closed the door behind me. I pretended not to see the bruises and bedsores on Anna's frail body, and sat beside her with a smile, observing her pale, sunken face. She stared at me with wide, pleading eyes. I gently brushed a messy strand of hair away from her ear and said softly, "You know, I've waited for this day for a very long time." Luckily, everything turned out exactly the way I wanted. All those years chasing after Jared, not a waste. Do you like the husband I picked for you? In her confused and terrified gaze, I untied the red string from my wrist and kissed it with devotion, the smile on my lips turning ice cold. Remember Mr. Kevin, the teacher you accused of harassment back in middle school? He is my brother. Kevin was 8 years older than me, and we grew up together in the same orphanage. Unlike the rough, defensive kids around us, Kevin was gentle, handsome, refined, and always smiling with soft kindness. He was the only light in the darkness of my childhood. When I arrived at the orphanage at just 4 years old, I was tiny and severely traumatized. I could barely speak and was constantly bullied. But 12-year-old Kevin stood up for me. He would scold the other kids, clean my scraped hands and feet, sneak me half of his snacks, and sit in the corner reading picture books to me over and over, telling warm, comforting stories, teaching me how to talk. He spent 3 years patiently bringing a withdrawn, silent child into the light. He used to pat my head and say he wanted to be a teacher one day, a great one who could guide and inspire. I only smiled without answering. But deep down, I knew no one was more suited to be a teacher than him. He could have been a bright memory for so many children. But in the third month of his teaching internship, Kevin was falsely accused of sexual misconduct by a student. That student was Anna, back when she was in middle school. Kevin was young and handsome, with a gentle and refined demeanor, the kind of person who made many teenage girls' hearts flutter for the first time. However, the more mature Anna directly pursued him, writing love letters, giving gifts, and inviting him to concerts. Kevin always rejected her gently, with the kind of look one might give to a child. When he visited the orphanage to see the kids, he would complain to me in a calm, helpless tone, "She's the same age as Linda, yet I just can't understand her at all. How is it that she thinks this way?" I sat beside him and smiled, "That's because you're too popular." He gently patted the top of my head, "You're all good students. When you grow up and look back, you'll probably think you were just blinded by the idea, wondering why you ever thought someone as ordinary as me, a middle-aged guy, could be so appealing." But Kevin underestimated the harm a good student could do. After another confession was rejected, a humiliated and angry Anna ripped her clothes and cried as she ran out of Kevin's office, in full view of everyone. She falsely accused Kevin of sexual harassment at school, exaggerating the story and spreading it everywhere. One was a privileged middle school girl, crying like a delicate flower. The other was a young teacher from an orphanage, naturally viewed through a biased lens. The scandal of a middle school teacher allegedly sexually harassing a student spread throughout the city. Kevin was fired from the school, subjected to online abuse, and even detained. His powerless explanations were drowned out by the angry mob, and he couldn't say a word. He chose to end his life to prove his innocence. But after his death, more filth was thrown onto his name. He probably killed himself out of guilt, right? Good riddance, society is better off without a scumbag like him. Who knows how many more girls would have suffered if this animal had stayed alive. I took the bracelet he had always worn and put it on my wrist. On countless evenings, I silently cleaned the red paint and rotten eggs from his tombstone, gritting my teeth and swearing to myself. I would make Anna pay a price worse than death. After graduating from middle school, I entered the same high school that Anna would attend, and intentionally got bullied to attract her attention. When she arrogantly asked if I wanted to be her pet dog, I looked at her radiant face, my nails digging into my palm, almost unable to contain the overwhelming hatred inside. Why? Why should someone as wonderful as Kevin have to be buried in disgrace while the one who started it all, the murderer, gets to enjoy life, adored by everyone? I used all my strength to suppress the hatred inside me, nodding silently as she smiled with confidence. I followed her for 3 years. In those 3 years, I was both the tool she used to show off her persona, and the person who knew her the best. And when I saw Jared for the first time in college, his appearance, with a faint resemblance to Kevin, made me realize I had found another opportunity for my revenge plan. I began to subtly mention Jared to Anna, and skillfully painted him as a second Kevin in my words. As expected, she became interested in him. Meanwhile, my years of unrequited love became another temptation for her to display her charm and step on me. As for Jared, beneath his elegant and handsome exterior, he was selfish, arrogant, and violent, everything Kevin was not. I had noticed Anna's carefully curated, affluent lifestyle that I shared online, and Jared saw it too. Half a year into our relationship, I intentionally invited both Anna and Jared to help me celebrate my birthday. Both were dressed up carefully. The long-awaited spark between them flared the moment they saw each other. As their gazes met, Anna shyly lowered her head, revealing a slender, pale neck. Jared was momentarily entranced. I pretended not to notice and took a sip of lemonade, my smile not reaching my eyes. Afterward, with my encouragement, the drama officially began. Anna glared at me, furious, as I slipped the bracelet onto her wrist. She shook her head desperately, emitting a muffled, crying sound. I smiled and turned on the front camera, letting her clearly see the monster she had become. Whispering in her ear, I said, "Anna, would you like me to bring Kevin to keep you company? Your parents no longer want you. They're busy trying to get their health back so they can have another healthy child. Your life will wither and rot like a bag of trash, abandoned in a forgotten corner, with no one to care for you. This is the fate you deserve. I hope that when you wake up in the middle of the night, you can apologize to Kevin." I stood up and calmly watched her curl up, desperately trying to avoid the camera, attempting to remove the bracelet from her wrist. But her crippled body couldn't manage it. She clumsily fell to the ground, her face covered in tears. I looked up with an innocent smile at the caregiver who had arrived. Her emotions seemed a bit unstable. The caregiver gave her a disgusted look, took the tip I offered, and nodded politely. "Don't worry, I'll take good care of her." "That's good." I smiled at Anna. "I'll come see you another time." "I hope you stay well." I stepped on the gas, and the dusty nursing home gradually disappeared behind me. The warm breeze brushed my cheek. I exhaled deeply, squinting my eyes in the bright sunlight. Summer had come. I thought to myself, I can move on now. The end. This story is exclusively produced by the YouTube channel, Love Short Story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe.